Welcome back to Giants Latest. The New York Giants have another quarterback. That's right, they have two veteran quarterbacks now on the roster after they signed Russell Wilson to a 1-year deal. So we heard that this was still going to be an option. We also heard that the Giants were still waiting around on Aaron Rodgers even after they signed Jameis Winston. But they now have Russell Wilson and they have two veteran quarterbacks plus Tommy DeVito in the building. So Russ Wilson signed a 1-year deal. It's worth up to $21 million, but 10.5 of that is guaranteed. So we're going to talk a little bit about who we think is going to be the starter. But the thing that I want to say about Wilson and why I think the Giants signed him and Jameis Winston, where I'm at, in my opinion, right now, is that they believe that they are not getting a quarterback at 3. And we'll also touch on this a little bit. But I think that Joe Schoen has talked with Tennessee and he's talked with the Browns, who both teams now also had Cam Ward in for a private visit on top of going to his pro day. So I think that those teams are very interested in him. They're obviously, the Browns are interested in Sanders too. I think that the Giants think they're not getting a rookie quarterback at 3, which is why they went after the veteran. So now the question is, who's going to be the starter? Is it going to be Russell Wilson, who got this more of a starter contract type of money than what Jameis got at only $4 million a year? I think what they need to do is let them battle it out in camp. We have seen them have battles at different positions. They have not done it at the quarterback position since they've had Daniel Jones on the team. And now that Daniel Jones is not here, I think you got to let the best man win. Let them both battle it out, get them reps with the ones, and see who does better. In my opinion, Jameis is going to play more fun football and be more exciting, but I do think Russ is obviously going to be better when it comes to an interception ratio and things like that. So I think there are benefits to both quarterbacks. I think there are also cons to both quarterbacks, but I do think that we could go to training camp this summer and see them both battling it out for the starter position, which is what I personally would like to see. And the thing that I like about this too is that if you start Russ Wilson and he looks like shit the first 4 games, then guess what? You put in Jameis Winston and see how it goes. And at the very least, you still have Tommy DeVito unless they get another quarterback in the draft. So let's go back to talking about what's going to happen in the draft at 3, because like I said, I think it's likely that they're not getting a quarterback at 3, but I don't think that that means that the Giants are not drafting a quarterback this year. They have 8 draft picks, which is more than what they had last year. And I think that they're still going to take a flyer on someone like Milroe, Will Howard, Kyle McCord. I think it's going to be one of those guys. I think Jackson Dart is a possibility. I just am not so sure that they will be trading from 34 back into the first round to get him. So I'm not sold on that. What I do think is more likely is that they go for someone like a Jalen Milroe in round 3, since they have those 3 third-round picks. He has an Alabama connection to Brian Daboll, of course. And I don't know. I just have this feeling that Daboll really likes Milroe, and he's the type of quarterback that Daboll would really get on board with. So I will not be surprised if they draft Milroe. I think he's more of a third-round prospect, but I think that will be their plan for a rookie quarterback. And then in 2026, they go for a real starter as a rookie. They have Jameis Winston, and then they've got Jalen Milroe, and then they can officially move on from Tommy DeVito. And those are your 3 quarterbacks going into the 2026 season. And as a fan, I would feel pretty good about that. I would like it. So I think it's going to be very interesting. I do think if Sanders is on the board at 3, I think the Giants will draft him. I just think it's getting more and more unlikely that he's going to be there at 3. And obviously, it's still March. We are still weeks away from the draft. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of speculation and things that happen and that change over the next few weeks. But I do think it is more likely that we're not getting a quarterback at 3 and they're going to have to take a flyer on someone later, which I'm on board with. Like I said, at least you've got 2 veterans who you can run this offense, who can throw a deep ball. Winston is a little bit more mobile than Russ Wilson. You can add that aspect into the offense. I just think if you're Brian Daboll, you have to feel better about your quarterback room, right? You have to feel like you have guys who can read defenses, who can get through the reads quickly, who can make decisions quickly, who are not going to throw the ball away 100 times, who are not going to throw a million interceptions. And, if they throw interceptions, at least they're also going to throw touchdowns. So that is the benefit to someone like Jameis Winston, right? You're going to get a little bit of both. So we will obviously see what happens as time goes on and we get closer to the draft. But I want to talk a little bit more about Wilson's contract because, like I said, he is getting up to $21 million with 10.5 of that guaranteed. So I think the Giants' theory is that he's probably going to be the starter. And listen, I don't hate it if Russ Wilson is the starter. At least you've got Jameis, and you feel like, I think as a fan, if it doesn't work out with Russ and he has a tough go, then you can put in Jameis Winston, and at least it's a little bit more excited than thinking about, like Daniel Jones or someone like that. So I I'm on board with it, but I really would like to see a competition. I want to see Jameis Winston and Malik Neighbors in camp this summer. If they get Travis Hunter at 3, could you imagine the three of them? Like, that would be way more fun, I think, as a fan to watch than it would be to watch Russell Wilson. So I'm very curious to see, obviously, how things play out. I don't think that the Giants will necessarily declare a starter just yet, especially we'll have to see how the draft goes, but I'm really curious to see what happens this summer and what they end up deciding on who's going to be the starter. But I'm all on board with competition. I think you're barely paying Jameis Winston any money to be the backup. He's getting less money than Drew Lock was getting last year. So let him battle it out with Russ. May the best man win. It should be that way in all positions in football. And especially for the Giants right now, when you don't have a quarterback that is, top 5, top 10 caliber in the NFL, who definitely should be the starter, then let them battle it out and see. Let the best man win. And before you know it, we will know who our quarterback is. But we've still got time for the draft, so we're going to see what happens. But as for now, we have Russ Wilson and Jameis Winston, and we've got 2 veteran quarterbacks to at least feel semi-decent about. So stay tuned for more. Hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you next time on Giants Latest.